Here we are. Ta-da! Show number 8. It is Being Humanist. I am Mike. And this
is Adam.
Adam? What the heck? Okay. Okay, so originally we thought, a few days ago, Keith and I got together and we decided that we were trying to, hey, what are we going to do for our next show? And we're like, we should have a guest come on. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. We can do that. And then it was like, who do we know that we can bring on the show? And after a little bit of deliberation, we thought, hey, let's get our buddy Adam. And today, as we're trying to prepare for the show, we get a message from Keith, who says, I am sick and I can't do this. So we have decided to sub Adam for Keith today. So I guess I'll just, I think every time that we have a guest on the show, Adam, we decide they have to give us their origin story.
I expected that. So not only is this, am I co-hosting, I am also a guest, and this is also my very first podcast ever. I've listened to a number of them. Recently, when I was asked by Keith initially, hey, do you want to be on this podcast that we're doing? And I'm like, oh, okay, what is it? And I got to looking at it, and basically from over the course of about 2 days, I listened to the previous 7 episodes just for cramming, basically. I guess that college, that college oomph. Cramming.
Preparing to be on the show.
Cramming, yeah. But to be honest with you, like the first show, I was hooked. I mean, it was like, even if I didn't know these guys like a very long time, like Keith I knew way back in high school, and I'm 34. Mike, not as long, but probably, I don't know.
It's been about 10 years. It's been about a decade.
Yeah, 10 years. I was just thinking, all right, I can get into this. But yeah, very first podcast ever. So if I sound a little nervous or moments of silence, just please have a little sympathy for me. First podcast, co-hosting, and guest.
Dude, I wouldn't even worry about it because it's number 8 for me. Keith has done 7, and we're still nervous as hell.
All right, well, fair enough. We're all on the same plane.
I'm just glad it's not actually live.
Yeah, that's a relief. Although in my mind, I kind of think that we're live.
It is recording.
Yes.
I mean, if we mess up, we mess up.
I'm not
but it is adult rated, so we can slip up and say cuss words, and nobody cares.
Yeah, I gathered that in the 7 episodes I crammed into my ears for. But yeah, I mean, it's like, even if I didn't know these guys, I mean, it's an excellent podcast.
Yeah, what is your impression of the podcast?
Very good. I mean, it's like, what it tells me is like just a couple of guys that are educated, they're with it, they're intelligent, like naturally intelligent, like the ability to take in new information, do stuff with it.
Who are you talking about?
You guys.
Okay.
No, but I mean, like, it just feels like a couple of guys at a table, having some beers, and just calmly talking about atheism, religion, politics, science, evolution, and just a number of things that are current, and everybody has an opinion on it, and everybody is informed enough about it where they can have a solid opinion, and I really like that. I mean, that's one of the things that just like drew me in pretty quickly. And their voices are just so sexy. I mean, I was like reading 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh my God. Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, man. Keith is going to listen to this later and think, what the hell?
What did I do by talking to him?
Keith and I were actually talking about the possibility of setting it up so that we could use Skype or Google Plus so we could call in to the show.
No, not at this point. For my opinion is...
Well, in the situation where one of us couldn't make it,
Oh,
it would be
yeah.
a good way for us to connect because I think he's sick. He's just not feeling good today. But I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't want to be on. I don't know. So anyway, you crammed all 7 shows. You're on show number 8 now. You are our second guest.
Yep. James was the first.
Who was the liberal Christian, or as we have corrected to the cool Christian because he doesn't like the term liberal Christian. James, if you're listening, I still don't get it. So, I guess let's just get right to the point. So,
Sure.
So what's your story?
Um,
How did you get? What would you classify yourself as?
I classify myself most as like a very friendly, laid-back, non-confrontational, free thinker, non-religious person. Personally, I don't really like the word atheism. The philosophy I am. That's what I am. I mean, I'll admit it, that I am atheist, but I don't like the word specifically because of where we're at. In the United States, in particular, atheism, that word, not the philosophy, but the phonetic word, atheist, is very harsh. It has a hard A at the beginning, and then it has a high eist. Okay?
Yeah.
It sounds very harsh to the ears.
I agree with you.
And over the time, particularly with some very vocal individuals who are not Christian, like everyday Christian, I don't have a problem with. I don't care. I respect you.
Mm-hmm.
You're human too, and I'm cool with that. It's just the fringe that has really driven that word, the phonetic word, not what it is, into the ground. It's like if you are an atheist, you are one slight notch above Satan himself, or a rapist, or a murderer, or something, and that is completely not true. So, in an effort to kind of like bend to what's called the moving zeitgeist, I just prefer the term non-believer.
Okay.
The how I look at the everyday Christian. This is how I think. You know, when every Sunday you get the newspaper, or at one point you have gotten the newspaper, and there's all the coupons in it, and you come across a coupon that you save a good amount of money on a product you don't have any need for, you don't care, you don't need, and no one in your home needs. That's the feeling I have, where you're just looking at that coupon, it's like, oh, well, yeah, I can save an extra $3.99 off of this laundry detergent, but I don't use it because I break out because of it. No. And then you just move on to the day. I mean, that's just how it is. I'm like so laid back. I'm like, well, whatever. But there's another side to that story. The other side is when it comes to like the militant Christians, and occasionally lately the militant atheists as well.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna tear you a new one. And it's also the arrogance that they say that there's one creator that created everything in less than 10,000 years, and I am right, you're wrong, period. I'm like, really? Or the opposite. The opposite is true too. Where it's like an atheist will come out, a militant, not us, but like a militant will say, there is no God, period. He didn't do anything. It's not that they're right or wrong. It's just the arrogance, and it's just that ferocity, and it's just like, you know what, you're making everyone look bad by that, and it's the vocal minority, and it really chaps me.
I think Keith and I both said a number of times that we just don't know, and it's okay not knowing.
Right.
And I think I've even said a number of times that I think that if there is a God, it is not the Christian God, it is not the Hindu, any of the Hindu. I feel like if there is a creator, I guess it's more of a deist point of view.
Yeah, but I kind of think that if there is a creator, in the back of my mind, I'm just thinking it's probably some punk-ass teenager from a super advanced civilization that created us, and he's like, we are going to make this planet the Alabama of the universe. We are going to make them so stupid.
Sorry, Alabama listeners. If I don't know if we have any, I apologize now.
And I apologize as well. I am not above being prideful if I offend anyone, if I piss anyone off. And it's legitimate. It's not just because my viewpoints on things.
My guess
I
is any
apologize.
Alabama listeners are probably thinking, yeah, we get it.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of them that are they don't even know we exist.
Okay, so can you tell me the story? How did you get to this point?
Ah, yes. Well, as a little guy, I was taken to church, and which was the sole explanation on why I was at the time Christian, is because of my parents. And we went to church, but I don't really remember it very well. All I remember is I was a little punk. That's.
Sorry, I'm interrupting Adam because I'm trying to make sure he doesn't touch his mic.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes. Anyway,
Punk.
Yeah, thanks. I grew out of it. A lot of teachers thought I'd wind up in prison, but nope.
What?
Well, behind my back, I'm sure. So anyway, I more than grew out of it. So anyway, as a little guy, I went to church, was Christian, and then throughout middle school and high school and early college, I didn't go. We didn't really talk about it, like heavy stuff. We were just like, God loves you. Jesus died on the cross for your sins. It was pretty low-key, low level. And to be honest, even though I wasn't vocal about it like some are, I was very deeply religious. More spirituality than the miracles and the specifics of the Bible. Like, this verse says this, you do it, or you believe in it, or something. It was more like a very large viewpoint of spirituality. I didn't really tie it nice. I didn't really.
I burped. Anyway,
I didn't really tie into any of the miracles, the walking on the water, the raising from the dead, and I don't even remember thinking about it. And then in college, I don't know whether it was the stress or whatever, but I kind of focused in on it. I mean, like, I got more spiritual, and I prayed every night, and I got a Bible where it's one of those Bibles where you can, if you read a certain section of it, you can finish it in 365 days.
Okay.
And I read the shit out of that. I loved it. And
how old were you?
At that time, I was probably in my early 20s.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was very spiritual, but I kept it to myself. I didn't tell anyone, really.
Okay.
No one would have guessed. And then, probably in the last, I don't know, so I'm 34 now, probably in my late 20s to about a year ago. I didn't know it, but I was a functional atheist.
Okay.
Where I constantly saw all the hypocrisy, all of the contradictions that are in the Bible and people's rants and things like that. And I just saw it, and then I started questioning it. It's like, really? I mean, not like the science or anything like that. Like, there's no way there can be a divine creator. It was just more like, you are such a hypocrite, dude. Mm-hmm. You're talking about this, but yet you do this. I mean, you've been through 2 divorces. I mean, that's awful. I mean, how can you... Anyway, so I started questioning, and I was a functional atheist. I just didn't know it. Mm-hmm. And there was one particular night. It was actually, I think, Christmas Eve. I don't even know what year it was. But I would say it was probably like in my early 30s, a few years ago, where a family member and I got into a religious discussion, and the center of it was, if you absolutely believe in that religion, or your religion, our religion at the time, and there's paradise waiting on you on the other side, why not, don't kill yourself, because I understood that was like a no-no, but why not, like, kind of in a way put yourself into dangerous positions so that you're...
Assisted suicide.
Right. It's like, why not be a police officer in a rough part of town and not wear your vest?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
interesting.
Whatever. It's like, live hard, I guess, with the intention of sort of dying, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, I backed him up into a corner, and he couldn't fight his way out, and what made that moment kind of a turning point that made me realize that at that moment I was being a total jerk. I was being an ass. I I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant or anything. I'm average, but at that time I was kind of like taking advantage of this family member's ignorance and low intelligence. I take that back. Not low, but lower. And I was taking advantage of it, and I walked away from it, and another family member commented, it's like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, I'm going to have to leave. This is so offensive. Not what you're talking about, Adam, but like what you're doing to your other family member. And then, I mean, I was just like, kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what I was doing. I was being a total ass. That other family member was absolutely right. So I stopped, and I didn't apologize. I just had a moment of reflection, like, oh man, what have I done? And then there was probably, as of, I would say, middle summer of 2013. So this is very recently. I was going through a couple blogs, and I was like, you know what, I'm reading through this, and I've accumulated enough scientific knowledge that it just kind of like hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm an atheist. I don't believe there's nothing out there that convinces me that there is any creator.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm like in line with Richard Dawkins on that. It's like, there's no way we can absolutely know. So, after that point, up to now, so this is probably like, I don't know, good 8 months where I've been like atheist, non-believer, free-thinker, humanist, that kind of thing. And honestly, the feeling that I get is bittersweet. It's sweet because my life and outlook has improved quite a bit.
Okay.
I'm just not judgmental at all, really.
Right.
Whereas before I was, even as a functional atheist, I was just kind of like, man, that person's, why don't they do this, or why don't they do that, or, that kind of thing. Now I'm just like, whatever. I don't care anymore, whatever. But the sour part is that a lifetime of indoctrination, and being my family is very religious, really kind of, sticks it in and breaks it off in a way. They are not hardcore fundamentalist American Taliban style Christians, young earth. They all believe in evolution. Well, they don't believe in, I hate that.
Your family.
Right. Family.
Okay.
They are convinced enough with evolution. They may not know all the exact details, like, people like us.
They're just in the understanding that, okay, science has figured out this much, and we trust them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not only that, but on the other side, it's like there's this, it doesn't make sense with what we see, that it can't be like a creator. Like here, if there were a creator, he or she creates it, they're around, they're in the mix for 2,000 years, and then boom, gone. 2,000 years later, not a peep from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I'm sure they're, like prophets, and, people have like visions or whatever, but he was in there in a big way. Flooding, pestilence, plagues. I mean, like, very obvious that this is a higher being. Very obvious.
He was a dick.
Yeah, kind of a jerk. Not somebody I would want to hang out with. Very cruel guy.
Yeah.
And so up until, 8 months or however, I can't do that kind of math. I'm not that bright.
We are not scientists.
No, so I've been like, I haven't like, there's only 2.5 people, 3.5 people, 4.5 people.
Me, Keith.
You, Keith, a family friend, and a local radio personality. Actually, the local radio personality was the first person I came out to.
Local ass.
Yeah, local ass. We'll get to him.
Well, yeah, we're not going to mention his name either, just because we have too many risks behind it.
Yeah,
I know that sounds like a real pansy thing for us to say, but seriously, there's connections that we just don't want to go to.
Yes, there. For those of you who are listening to this, thank you. I think in the last episode there was a woman, she wrote you guys an email. I think her name was
Michelle.
Michelle. Well, Michelle.
Michelle, I'll have to bleep that out. Oh my gosh, I just did that. Sorry.
You do that to my last name. No. Anyway, Michelle, this is episode 8. I hope you really get a kick out of it. When I heard it, because actually I listened to episode 7 with Michelle, you guys reading her email, on the way here to do this recording.
Okay.
And the show finished literally at a 4-way stop near the recording site where I'm at now. And it was just really like, you know what? I'm going to acknowledge Michelle. I'm going to acknowledge that you are not alone. We are not alone. And our numbers are rising. Atheism and free thinking and that sort of thing is the fastest growing demographic, religious ways, in a way.
Right.
It's hard to kind of like classify atheism as a religion. It's it's in the name.
Not.
It's a complete lack of it.
Yeah.
Which
is always hilarious, especially when we classified this show, because I was, you want to make sure that it gets out to people, and you got to throw it under religion, because I guess it's the opposite of, if you will. So I don't know, I found that interesting. I laughed at the idea that I had to do that. But I do want to say that Michelle did respond again, and she said that she was very happy that we read the email, and she was nervous. She didn't know how it was going to sound hearing it read aloud, but she said it also prompted discussion between her and her husband, which was good. So Michelle, I have a pretty good feeling that you're probably going to listen to the next show, so it's great to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real pleasure. In a way, when I'm talking, I feel like I'm talking to, like, like a panel where there's like 6 or 8 people and they're all on stools and there's a black curtain behind them and it's like a panel. I feel like that's how it is, even though it's not. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, a little bit about myself. And the half person. The half person is my girlfriend. We've been dating for about 10 months. I'm not even going to mention her first, and certainly not the last name.
It's fine.
Just that she exists. Yes. Anyway.
We think. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. You met her, did
I did. I met her at Greg's.
Yes.
Which was probably just about the time, or just before that you were starting to change your mind.
Pretty close to that, actually.
As we were observing the stars through Keith's telescope.
Actually, that was probably about 2 to 3 weeks before. So when I was there with that telescope looking at Saturn, that was one of the finishing nails. I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, man, like some people would look at that and it's like, oh, God is great. He did all this. I'm looking at it as like, oh, this is the remnants of a couple former supernovas that got together and formed an accretion disk, and gravity spun things up, and nuclear fusion occurred, and all that stuff. That's how I'm thinking. So anyway, my girlfriend she, in the 10 months, 11 months, or however, I don't know, I'm a guy, I don't keep track. We've never talked about it. We've never, ever talked about it. I asked her, the 2 times that I got close, is that I asked her, it's like, well, what's your faith? And this was after like a week after I just accepted what I was. And she's like, I have my beliefs. And I left it at that. Just like how I told you, like how I view average everyday Christians is like coming across that coupon that you just don't care about. It's like, well, okay, that's nice. I'm sure somebody likes that deal. And then the second time is kind of recent. I'd say within 3 weeks. We were, just having a, coffee break or whatever. I'm like, and at the time I was like really, really heavy into the evolution, learning it, and just soaking up everything Richard Dawkins could put out that my book budget could handle.
Right.
And so I just asked her, it's like, do you believe in a young Earth or an old Earth universe, that kind of thing? Right. And she's like, I think that the universe is billions of years old.
Really? Okay.
Or she paraphrased it.
Okay.
I'm also a guy. I don't listen to women very well. I am your classic guy that doesn't listen, doesn't follow directions, and I get yelled at for it. Anyway, so that was the filler question for her, because to me, young Earth definitely implies, very faithful, fundamentalist,
right.
That kind of thing. Anyway, so that's 4.5 people. Well, Michelle knows now, so it's 5.5. All right. Well, anyway, 5.5 people.
I just got to remember not to say Michelle's last name again.
Yeah.
I promise I will bleep it out.
I think my mother might have a feeling about it. I think she might kind of sort of know unofficially, because one time she just point blank, "Are you an atheist?" You know, she says it under her breath, even though it's a phone call. And I totally dodged the question. Actually, I didn't even dodge it. I copped out. I lied, and I felt miserable about it. I said, "Well, I was born and raised Methodist." What kind of a question is that? You know me. I totally lied to my mom, and I felt so terrible afterwards. I think I drank a huge amount of alcohol that night.
Really?
Just in guilt. I was like, man, I lied to my mom. But, you know, you can't go back in time and fix it. You just got to pick yourself up and move on. And if she asks me again, I'll say, well, I don't like that word just because of the social connotation that it has. Anyway, my forte, I guess, is science. I'm not professionally trained or educated. I do have an MBA in business, obviously. That's what the B stands for. I have an MBA, but all of my life I've just been absolutely fascinated with science in general.
Okay.
At every level. So I am scientifically literate at a modest level. Like DeGrasse Tyson, those guys could just blow me away. I mean, they could just, within 5 minutes, I'd just be like humbled. I mean, just like, oh my God, these guys know so much more than me. But to the average person, I know quite a bit. And that's kind of what I'm bringing to this audio this podcast. Show. I was thinking like
to the show.
Subscription episode. To the show is like a scientific perspective. And one of the things that any reasonable scientist or person who is interested in science that they need to admit up front is that I don't know everything.
Yes.
And the cool thing about that is that's okay.
Yeah.
For a religious person to say, I don't know, that's a real kick in the nuts. It really is. But for a scientist, it's like, saying I don't know is saying as common as I love you to your spouse. I mean, it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I mean, in fact, that's a job creator in a way. Yeah, kind of, what? So that's me. I consider myself a science enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not high and mighty. I don't even consider myself an amateur. I'm just an enthusiast. I totally dig it. I don't really care about the math or the deep, the heavy stuff. I have recently read, the audiobook version, but because I have a long commute, so that's a good way to eat up time. The God Delusion, I've listened to it twice.
Okay.
I plan on it, repeating it over and over and over indefinitely. And his other book, The Greatest Show on Earth, I've listened to that once, and that's also going to be a repeater.
Both two of Keith's favorites, I think.
Yes. Keith does have the text version of The Selfish Gene. I want to get the audio version of that. One reason I use the audio is because of my commute, and I refuse to read. No, I'm kidding.
I have the God Delusion in paperback, and I also have a manual for creating atheists.
Oh, yeah.
From Peter Boghossian, and I'm about a quarter of the way through Dawkins, and I'm about halfway through Boghossian, because I am not a heavy reader.
Yeah.
And I just I try to sit down and read the book at night before I go to bed, and it just I'm horrible. I should really probably try to find the audio version for the God Delusion.
Well, it's cool because
make things easier.
You're listening to the man himself. And the third audiobook I just finished up, and I've just started again. I restarted it immediately after I finished the first time, just because it's so insanely heavy. And that's Lawrence Krauss's book, The Universe Something from Nothing.
Universe from Nothing.
The first half, I'm totally with it. I'm on it. I get it. Everything. And then the second half is like, what?
His theoretical. I have not. I don't know much about the book. I haven't. I know that Keith has read it, because Keith reads everything, and he does though. I mean, he's got an amazing library on his Kindle and whatnot. But I was going to say, before I forget, there is a documentary that's been out for a year or so that isn't available yet, but from Dawkins and from Krauss, The Unbelievers, and I want to get my hands on that.
Foaming at the mouth. I actually looked it up to see if there was like any like theaters nearby. I live
not in Indiana.
Yeah. I live in the central Indiana, Indianapolis area. And I was like, oh, please let there be at least one theater. I'll go to it, whatever. But no, I think the nearest one was Chicago, and I'll just wait.
Man, I'd almost be willing to go there for that. Almost.
I was almost willing to go up to Chicago for a Lords of Acid concert once.
I don't know Lords of Acid.
Yeah, well. I think I get the feeling that Michelle might know. She might be like, "Oh my God, he's a Lords fan! Holy crap!" Figuratively, not like literally a pile of shit that's holy.
We'll have to see if she responds to us.
Yeah, send us an email if you heard. I mean, send us an email if you immediately knew what I was talking about without looking it up, Michelle. If you don't know, then send the email anyway. We like
that.
Or anyone else for that matter. I'm like zoning in on Michelle. I mean, technically, it's for anyone listening.
I think I'm in a unique situation. I probably don't even need to go into this because I know I've talked about it a few times, but it's nice to hear people like yourself who really grew up Christian, like seriously grew up Christian, as like especially Keith, because his family is hardcore into it, and for me, I mean really, I didn't have any of that to worry about, and I mean it was so easy for me to even. My dad, who is, I believe, a young Earth creationist, he didn't. We get into arguments a lot because we have different viewpoints on politics and religion. Period. And it's I don't know. I don't know that I didn't why I don't feel uncomfortable about it. But I remember getting into our first argument, and I'm like, Dad, you can't. No, you're wrong.
Wow, you're like,
I am an atheist, and I'm okay with it.
I think my family would. I think my mother would just be like a little disappointed, but she'd get over it. She's a toughie. And my stepfather would probably, I knew it all along.
Well, my stepdad was the guy that told me to question everything. Although he believes in God, he doesn't know what form God takes, but he does believe in God. And my mom may be coming to terms with atheism, period. I've noticed her making some posts on Facebook where I'm just like, yeah, Mom! So yeah, I guess that's where that is.
That turbo in your logical mind is spooling up, isn't it?
It's probably because I'm a ridiculous when I don't go overboard, or I try not to go overboard on my atheist/humanist posts on Facebook because sometimes it's just not appropriate.
There's a lot of people that look at that.
Yeah, but I do make a lot of humanistic posts.
Oh yeah,
just because I truly believe in humanism. I truly believe in being a good person, and I truly believe, because I'm living it, you don't need God to be good.
Absolutely.
And of course, people are going to make the argument, well, where do you get your morals from, whatever.
I have an answer for that.
Yeah.
Well, I have an opinion of it anyway.
Keith has a really good explanation.
That's kind of like reinforcing what he has said already in previous podcasts.
I was going somewhere with this, and I totally lost track with it.
Family?
Something about posting things on Facebook.
Family and posting?
I mean, I got to be careful, but I've noticed more and more people. What's really interesting for me is more and more people are liking my posts, and I'm starting to it's interesting to discover people on Facebook in much the same way you might discover them at a wedding during a prayer. when you happen to look up and you see one or two other heads pop up and you just kind of nod to each other like, yeah, that's right, I know you. We're cool.
I have that was kind of awkward because this holiday season, I don't know. I think my brother would be mortified. I mean, like seriously, like he would just be like, oh, crap, like because I share the same last name with him. I can't possibly have any association with him at all. And I would actually like for us to grow together. I mean, we have grown together before.
Mm-hmm.
We're both really into guns. I am very pro-gun, but not like insanely pro-gun.
Hey, would you consider yourself liberal?
I lean to the left.
Okay. Another person who leans to the left who thinks it's okay to have guns. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I heard that.
Keith and I both.
Yeah.
And we think it's freaking ridiculous that everybody's freaking out about this, but I think maybe it's just those who are, I don't know, maybe.
A lot of, this is a good subject. I think since most of our audience is probably definitely on the left side.
It probably tends to be that way.
They're probably thinking, how can this guy be into guns? He leans. I will tell you, okay, this is from an actual former NRA member, and I tell you here and now, from my perspective, not all of us are psychopaths with guns.
Well, that's true.
For me,
at the same time, though, I don't
Yeah.
think that. I think people give left-leaning liberal people too much of a I think too many people automatically think that everybody's against guns if they're liberal.
I know,
And I think I have to disagree with that. I mean, it's a constitutional right.
yeah.
I mean, hell, our buddy Greg, who is definitely leaning liberal, a former Marine,
Yeah.
or Marine, and huh?
No, I'll tell you later.
I remember asking him one time, and we're going like way off topic here. I remember asking him one time about guns and what his deal is, and he says, well, you know, somebody's got to keep those righties in check. Because he called himself a gun-toting liberal. Somebody's got to keep the conservatives in check.
Yeah.
But anyway.
a lot of liberals and probably members of our audience really like focus in on the AR-15, and I will tell you, I own one of these. I own the high-capacity mags and the green-tipped armor-piercing, and the reason I do is because it's freaking cool. It's awesome to hold something like that, and honestly, what's going through my brain is when I'm looking at this, and I don't have a red dot sight yet. I'm just using iron sights. I can't afford an EOTech just yet.
Okay.
It's a very high-end sight. Anyway, I'm holding this, and I'm not thinking anything in the lines of a crazed gunman. If anything, I'm thinking, how awesome would it be to stop one of them with this? I'd be a hero. That would be awesome. Like, you get some guy just like shooting the hell out of like some mall, and I just say, hey, I'm on the way to my parents' house to target shoot, and I'm going to kill him. I'm going to save a bunch of people. I'm going to be the good guy.
Oh, man.
That's what I'm thinking, and just to have that is just like so awesome. And if anyone in our audience has never held or fired one or anything like that, any gun, go out and try it. It is a blast. I tell you what, if you have your friends go out and do it, it's a blast. And our friend, the first letter of her first name is K. Anyway, I'll tell you later who she is. You know. She is extremely anti-gun in every shape, way, and form. And I was serious when I invited her. Like, you can come out to my house, you can shoot the AR, you can shoot the Glock, you can shoot the 22, a shotgun, anything you want. I will be there to help you to get over your fear and how awesome it is. And she was just like, totally no.
I'm totally. I'm gonna write my guess.
The thing went out.
Your thing went out.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you. Or
Oh, probably because I moved this.
Oh.
I can still hear you. You're
Okay.
still being recorded.
Okay, that's better.
Can you hear yourself?
Okay, I thought the whole
Okay.
sound system went out.
No, technical difficulties. Okay, so I'm totally gonna. No.
No. Here, I'll just try.
Okay.
We're like,
We're guessing on a name. Evidently, we don't want to say. Oh.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
The other girl, she refused. She said, I'm just too terrified of guns. And I'm like, well, we'll start out with an airsoft gun. I got one.
I don't even own one. They're fun to shoot, though.
Oh,
I'm not going to lie. Now, at the same time, the idea... we are going way off topic here.
Yeah, let's get back on.
Yeah, okay.
We'll save it for another day.
We'll gun talk with the atheists later. Maybe we can have... maybe we can have some weird title for that.
Okay, so my introduction is over with.
Yeah, definitely. We'd spent a lot of time. You took forever.
Sorry.
Now okay.
I'll keep it short from here on out.
We went a while on that, and because Adam has been going through all the shows, he happened across was it the last show or the show before last? It's 6 or 7. Yeah, it was show number 6. I got into Thanksgiving rant because my wife works for a corporation, blah blah blah, that makes her work holidays. I'm not going to name who it is. Excuse me, I don't know if I have before, but Adam decided, while it is way past that at this point, he wanted to comment on it because we did say, hey, if anybody has an answer to working on the holidays, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Adam has an answer, and I don't know what it is, so I'm holding my chair. and hoping that I don't fly out. No, go ahead.
It is the answer is because the business dynamics over the holidays is unlike any other time of the year. Is the holidays. It's a benchmark. It's a benchmark in many ways. It's a benchmark for each company's competitors. It's a benchmark for mostly their investors. It's really what it is. Their investors, and those are the two primary. I'm sure there's a few others in there, but the primary two are their investors who give them their money and expect a payoff. And it's a measure marker for the economy at large. So, and everyone always talks, how much did what did we do over the Black Friday and Thanksgiving, and how did we do? And over the years, it kind of developed into a benchmark to compare one year after the next.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why. Is because, and that, well, I take that back. There's actually a third factor in there, and that is also the consumer. If you really want to stop the Black Friday thing because, or not the Black Friday, I'm sorry, the working on Thanksgiving. If you want to stop that, don't go in, because it really, when it comes down to it, business is supply and demand.
Yeah, exactly.
And the third force in that is marketing. I really don't particularly like marketing. I considered it and I got into it and I'm like, I'm going to be a full-blown alcoholic within like 2 months of working at it. Anyway, so if you're against working on holidays, do 2 things. Send an email, just something quick, preferably 1 or 2 sentences, saying, I don't want to shop on the holidays because you do this. I am not going to give you money on this day, nor your competitors, nor anyone. Keep it short, because these people, they look through emails, they see anything longer than 2 or 3 sentences, they move right past it. You wasted your time. 2 sentences.
Or they're just not going to care.
Yeah, exactly. And don't go. And Black Friday's a whole different animal because it's not really a classic holiday per se.
Yeah, I understand. But at the same time, it's frustrating because Thanksgiving is not a religious holiday.
No.
But it's based on being thankful for what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And after you're thankful for what you have, you go out and you spend a shitload of money for things that you don't need.
Yeah.
It's a joke. In my mind, it's just a joke.
The deals are pretty good, but if you go out on Black Friday and...
Deals might be good, but eventually that stuff's going to be thrown away.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what was the point?
Yeah.
It's materialistic. Of course, I know that I said this in that show. I have my laptop here. I have my hard drives and what stuff. It's all materialistic. I get it. But it's frustrating. I think
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. And I think the best way to fix it is people just stop shopping.
Stop shopping, but tell the companies why you're not doing it. And
I just don't think they'll care.
Well, if enough people do it, they will. Because those people that you're sending the emails to, they have to answer their investors. And if their investors is like, hey, why did Thanksgiving or Black Friday or that whole weekend, why did it bomb from one year to last year? It's like, well, sir, we got kind of a lot of emails.
And I guess in that combination of things that would make sense. But otherwise, I just look at it as an email that's going to be tossed off to the side. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah, most of the time, I mean, it's the truth. I mean, it'll... But at least you can say, I did this, I didn't shop, and I told them why.
Yeah. Okay, you feel like you got that off your chest?
Yep.
Okay. We can move on then?
Sure. We'll have to speed it up a little bit because we're like 45 minutes in.
Yeah. we go about an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's good.
But we do have a lot of stuff to get to.
None of it. It doesn't look like it takes a lot of time for those 4 and 5. They don't look like they do.
But yeah, you're right. Do you want to intro number 4 on our list here? Because this next piece is something that Adam just thought would be funny, and he wanted to throw it on.
I don't know. I'm kind of like...
are you chickening out now? Are you like, you don't want to put it on there?
Well, I don't want to disrespect the show with something like that. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We have to do it. You wanted to do it. Adam has taken half of the control of the show today.
If you get angry with this, just send the email and they'll forward it to me.
This may not be very humanistic.
No.
I don't know how much of the show has been so far. I guess there's been a bunch of it. Anyway, this is called the atheist bitch slap, which makes me think of the Hitch slap.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not really. I know who Hitchens is.
Okay, there's a common phrase called the Hitch slap. So anyway, it's when he just totally destroys his opponent, if you will.
Okay.
So anyway, Keith, I hope you're enjoying this show so far. I hope we're not ruining it.
What are they doing?
Okay, here we go. Here's the atheist bitch slap.
What I am here to talk about is that heaven is real. We believe heaven's real. And by the way, we spoke about abortion. I just want to say that theologically, I believe that every aborted child is in heaven.
Right.
So we would be doing them a favour by aborting them then?
No, I'm not saying that.
I mean, really, if you want to call that, have your own argument.
That's a very trivial response to a very serious
No,
issue.
that's an absolute factual response to what you're saying, if that's what you're saying.
Not saying that. No, God is a God of the defenceless.
Let me ask you, what do you think about this vision of heaven that Suleiman has? I mean, it sounds like it was kind of constructed a little bit, if I may say so, by men.
Well, yeah, it's interesting that every man is going to have 2 wives. That means there have to be twice as many women who believe this as there are men. Otherwise, there won't be enough to go round, or we'll all have to marry more than one, or something like this. It's not quite clear. But what is interesting here...
Not the Christian perspective.
What is interesting here, actually, is that we've got people from different faiths and who all believe in some kind of heaven in a different sense. But every single one of them believes in this heaven on the basis of faith. And faith, by definition, is believing in things without evidence. And personally, I don't do that because I'm not an idiot.
Oh, whoa, ouch, ouch, whoa, ouch, ouch.
Jenny!
You get our volume back up here.
Okay.
There you go.
Cool.
So, that was pretty in your face.
Yeah. Very confrontational and kind of what made me... I still can't hear myself quite right.
You're going. Don't worry about it.
Anyway, one of the things that changed my mind, because, like there for a second I was on the fence about it, I did it to bring up a point. That not only are there... that's better. Not only are there religious extremists, there are atheist extremists.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's how she conducted herself was a little extreme. I mean, it was a real in-your-face kind of... It's like douchebaggery, I guess.
Well, if you see the video itself, it's she's got a smirk on her face right before she says it. She's like, It's just like, I'm about to drop a bomb on you.
Don't, I mean, from a humanist perspective,
A
don't.
verbal bomb. A literal, yeah. An English bomb.
Let's
I don't know where I'm going with this.
let's move on. Let's go right to the friendly atheist.
Okay. So, as per being humanist and wanting to try to get a little bit more positive stuff on, we didn't have a lot of time to prepare for the show, and we ran across this story, just searching because we were trying to search for anything happy, and this one in particular was kind of cool. It's The Friendly Atheist. This was actually on Fox and Friends.
Of all shows, it was on this.
It was a couple years back, so forgive the date issue because
It's recent enough.
It's recent. To me the point is what it is and what they did,
Yeah.
and let's go for it here.
2 Oregon churches have been vandalized for the second time in 6 months. Now an unlikely group is helping clean up the damage. We are joined by Christian Life Center pastor John Bluba and the friendly atheist Hamant Mehta, who has raised nearly $3,000 for this church. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You know, this is a pretty
Thank you for
interesting
having
case. We had this horrible thing happen at the church. It was vandalized. And then the atheist organization, the Friendly Atheist, thank you so much for joining us this morning, stepped in to try and raise money to help things out. Ultimately, Pastor, you guys ended up not needing the money because you did manage to correct the damage. But what do you think about this offer?
Oh, I think it's amazing. It's, you know, with the internet and everything else, the world is such a small place, and to have a gentleman like Hamant step in and have concern for us was pretty amazing. It was, it just thrilled our hearts.
Hamant, what was it about this incident that called to you to step in? Was this about kind of bridging a divide between believers and non-believers? Was it about righting a wrong?
Well, I don't think, I think it is about righting a wrong. I mean, when I heard about what happened at the church in Oregon, at the 2 churches in Oregon, I was appalled. And the fact that whoever did it used kind of an atheist online joke, the Flying Spaghetti Monster, to tag this church is horrible. And I know a lot of atheists didn't want to see that happen. We believe in a civil discourse and a good, proper dialogue. And this isn't the way we ought to be treating churches at all. So I'm glad nearly 200 atheists on my website stepped up to pitch in to try and help these churches.
Pastor, what are your thoughts on this? He calls himself the friendly atheist. That almost implies that there are non-friendly atheists out there, apparently. But what do you think about him stepping in and up to the plate?
Well, I think it's amazing. You know, there are non-friendly atheists, just like there's non-friendly Christians in every organization. Not everybody represents their organization like they should, and not every Christian represents Christ like they should. And I think that's why there's, you know, confusion a lot over what Christians stand for and who we are. And you know, like I've blogged on the Spaghetti Monster website, and I've even spoken with Hamant and emailed him, is that, you know, I think the world would be a lot better place if we just followed the basic teaching of Jesus that said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
All right. Thank you so much.
And I also you don't need Jesus to be good. It's possible to be good without God, and I think the people on my website chipping in just show that.
And a little bridge there between believers and non-believers happening right there in Bend, Oregon. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Thanks for weighing in.
Thank you.
I like him.
What I really loved about that was the making sure that he got in there at the end to say that you can be good without God.
Yeah.
But seriously, I think what I really love about that story is a church is vandalized, and they used the Flying Spaghetti Monster insignia or whatever on the church to show who did it, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I'm with him. I'm with the friendly atheist. I am not a fan of harming a church, defacing a church. It's just, it's not cool.
No, I was thinking about this kind of on the way here. It's like a lot of people will, where do morals come from if you don't have a God or a Savior or something? Where do morals come from? I don't know. I don't have the answer. I have an idea. My idea is that as humanoids were developing, they didn't have teeth, claw, or fur, or anything like that, any kind of the protection that a natural predator would have. They had their brains, and they had numbers. And I don't mean like numbers as in like, you know, an army or anything. I mean numbers that they were social, and an element of that. I think that a lot of times they weren't constantly running from bears and stuff or anything like that. I think a lot of the time they were just laying around. Not always, but sometimes. And, you know, you bond with them, and then, like, over millennia, they sort of understand. Like, you get one of these creatures, humanoids, you know, or hominids, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Probably a better way to say it.
Yeah.
Keith will have the correct answer.
He will, definitely.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I love you, Keith.
Yes, he's pretty. Anyway, I think the hominids probably... I visualize this where one of them steals another one's fruit and he gets his ass kicked. And others see this and they're like, wow, I don't want that happening to me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to steal his fruit. And other things like, you know, one of them might be, there's a tiger or something sneaking up on him, and the other one's like, hey, dude, look out. Turn your spear that way. And they're like, oh my God, you just saved my life. You know, you know, I owe you. And I think that over a very long period of time, that's how morality, and it floats. It, like I said earlier, moving zeitgeist. Like, if you've ever, this is from Richard Dawkins' book, if you were to take one of Lincoln's letters, he mentions one specific, you take one of his letters and read it out loud today, you would be branded a serious hardcore racist, just in the terminology, etc. But back then, the zeitgeist was different. Back then, that was way ahead of its time. I mean, to have language like that at that time, and not the derogatory connotations and the dehumanizing of an entire race of people and everything, back then, that was way ahead of its time. I mean, talk about like extreme left wing today. I mean, they were reversed back then. But that's what I'm talking about. Like the zeitgeist floats, and, you know, I think that's the source of morality. There's no source, like it didn't begin. I just think it like developed with trial and error, and they dialed it in, and it's never going to be perfect because our environment changes constantly.
Just so that, can you give a little definition of the meaning of the zeitgeist for those who may not know?
Well, the word zeitgeist itself means the spirit of the time. So like the zeitgeist of like the 60s was all about, you know, like more freedom in a way.
Okay.
And the zeitgeist that I'm hoping our society is going to is towards the free thinking. Like in the 20s, there was the women's rights movement.
Right.
In the 50s and 60s, there was the civil rights movement. And then currently, there is the homosexual movement. And I'm hoping that in the near future, it will be the atheist movement. Unfortunately, and I think, I don't know where I heard this from, unfortunately, getting atheists and free thinkers together and voting for who they kind of sort of suspect as atheists, getting them in office and that kind of thing, it's like herding cats.
Yeah, that's a commonly used phrase among this realm of people.
Yes. Yep. It'll take time. I mean,
that is the one thing that I'm seriously jealous of when it comes to religion and church.
They've also had several centuries too.
Well, but there's a community, and they're raising money to do whatever good they need to do within their community, and that is one thing that I'm really, you know, between the American Humanist Association, the American Atheists, and these different groups, I'm looking forward to more and more of them getting together and more people finding each other.
Like divisions?
Well, yeah, I mean, just in general. I mean, getting secular community centers and things like that where people can go to.
Right.
They don't, you know, say you're struggling with alcoholism or you're struggling with your marriage or whatever, going to a particular place to have somebody to talk to that isn't religious, just a human to a human.
Yeah.
Using humanism and relating things and saying, hey, this isn't, just being able to talk to somebody and have somebody listen to you and not having to worry about the religious connotations, I think is huge.
Yeah, and atheists don't want to take away religion. That's something some of my family members would say. Why are you guys trying to take our religion? Here's the truth. This is from 2 actual atheists. Okay, we're not trying to take your religion. We don't care about your religion per se. What we want is for you to keep it where it belongs. Keep it in the church. Keep it in your homes. Keep it in your car if you want. Just don't bring it out so heavy. I mean, if you want to have a conversation, I'm not saying if you're talking with someone in a coffee shop and you're talking about it, I'm not talking about that.
It's a public place. It is not state owned, if you will. I mean,
Right.
you just have a conversation. That goes the whole thing with praying in school. I don't give a shit if your kids want to pray in school. Why? That's not going to bother me. If it's going to go be broadcast over a loudspeaker or an administrator or whatever is holding a group prayer, that's where the issue happens. Otherwise, I could care less.
Mm-hmm.
Pray all you want.
So I don't care if someone's like, you're taking our religion away. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm not trying to take it away. I'm just like trying to put it in its place.
Yeah.
So you can have it as to your heart content.
Well, let's see. We're just over an hour now.
Okay.
We have 2 things. One's a little bigger than the other, and then we have a friendly little happy thing to end on.
Cool.
So, really, this is kind of the Adam show today.
Am I really that overpowering?
Well, we decided I just he had some good things and we just decided to go with it. I don't know exactly how to get into this next thing, other than to say that in our area we have an online radio show ass host, ass hat host.
Oh yeah.
And this particular, we're not gonna deliver the name because too many close connections.
His influence is pretty powerful in this area.
I would say maybe not.
Yeah.
I think that he has a lot of connections with people. I think his Facebook page it shows that he's got.
Yeah.
There's a couple thousand, I think, on it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's it's funny. I want to say you're giving credit. You're giving credit in a sense to somebody by giving their name, if you will.
Yeah.
Almost like a terrorist attack. If you name the person, the terrorist, you're giving them exactly what they wanted. That whole idea that if you don't name the terrorist, then they're not going to get the fame or whatnot that they want, right?
Within their own
which is funny because at the same time, we also name particular things that we think are really stupid and because we want to laugh at it. In this particular case, just to keep things kosher, just to keep things on a happy note, we're just going to kind of. Well, Adam is a big fan of this person.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you want to talk about? You want to go ahead? Just
Sure.
rather than me blabbering on and not making any sense.
This particular person and I go back and forth on his Facebook page. Not lately. I've decided to pull the plug. Lately we've been spending huge amounts of time and not getting anywhere. He's not going to convince me. I'm not going to convince him.
Right.
Obviously, I'm a non-believer and he is, I call him an American Taliban. He is young earth, strictly Bible, that kind of thing. And I'm going to use this bullet point that we're talking about to kind of bridge into number 6. Or actually, that is number 6.
We're on number 6.
Oh, dang it. Okay, sorry, I'm a newbie. No, but anyway, one particular debate we got into was the issue of like why, if you guys are so anti-homosexual, then why do you divorce at an alarming rate? Why do you wear clothing of mixed fibers and shellfish and tattoos and all that stuff? How is it that you can like zero in on one thing and saying that thing is wrong, but something that's literally on the next page in the same flow of the text, why is that? And he actually told me it's something called the Old Mosaic Law, or Old Covenant. I think they're interchangeable. I think. What it is that the way I understand this, I didn't have a huge amount of time to like really get into this, and this was a little while ago, so my memory has faded. But what it is basically certain things can go, but Christ acts as a mediator.
Right.
For example, if you prey on it and you really, really love shellfish, I mean, you love red lobster. Oh, it's so good. You want a crab the size of a car. Oh, anyway, but you really love it. It's your duty as a Christian to pray to God using Jesus as a mediator, and then somehow an answer is downloaded into your personal choices, and boom, you can't have crabfish. You just like somehow know it. I don't know how it works. It's all hoo-ha to me. But anyway, I think that's the gist of it. This is where I think like maybe in a future podcast we bring back James.
Okay.
And see what he has to say about that. Or anyway, the point is, when Christ delivered the Sermon on the Mount, like in the first part of it, he mentioned, I think it's Matthew 5:20. Keith has said this, that Jesus says, the Old Testament still goes. But what I think happened, and this is my opinion. It's not even a theory, which is one notch a bit above worthless. But anyway, it's just my whatever. I'm just gonna say it. I think that back in the day, a lot of guys, they liked the crab meat. They, with the movement of Henry VIII, they hated their wife. They liked that young thing down the road, and they wanted to divorce their hag of a wife to go with that young thing. They used these different things to fulfill their personal desires, and they developed this school, the Old Mosaic Law. They developed it so it's like, hey, I really want to do this, but how can I do that? It's in Leviticus to not do that. Mm-hmm. How do I get around that? Which in itself is like, are you kidding me? But anyway, so they developed this, they debated it, and scholars and theologians discussed it, and they say, well, here's how we do it. And it's been a hot topic. And anyway, when in this debate I was having with the local radio guy, he basically said that is the reason how they can get away with stuff. That's how they can. Jesus says gays are wrong, but Jesus also says to me as an individual that getting a tattoo is perfectly fine. And that to me sounds like complete nonsense.
So does this gentleman agree with this?
I think so.
So he's admitting that they've come up with a way to ignore the Old Testament in parts.
By they, mean this goes back centuries.
Okay.
It's not something that just kind of came about. I mean, they've been talking about this for years.
So he's got the logic to understand that they've come up with a way to get around it. This is what's so. This gentleman is an enigma to me. He is a very intelligent person. Mm-hmm. Read a lot. He's read a lot of information.
He's read like Dawkins,
the Dawkins books.
Or he claims.
Okay, this is what I've been told. And you know that the man is intelligent. Mm-hmm. Very well read. He writes well.
He knows his stuff on both sides.
He knows how to argue. Yeah, he knows his stuff on both sides. It is amazing to me to think that somebody can be that well aware of things, and it's like they read it and it sticks there, but maybe they don't think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know the best way to. I mean,
well, there's a word
there
for
are people
that.
out there.
There's a word for that. It's delusional. Not stupid. I hate it when people. I hate it when people say creationists or anyone is stupid.
Yeah.
Because intelligence is the ability to take in information, process it, and make it useful.
You have to be careful when you say that, because you're talking about your own friends and family.
Exactly. That's another reason.
And you know that you are one with them, if you will. I mean, you are of their blood.
Yeah.
You can hold intelligent conversations with these people, and then all of a sudden, pink unicorns exist.
Or spaghetti monster. He boiled for your sins. Did you know that? I'm not the only one on anywhere that has thought of that already.
It's just I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't understand.
It's flat out delusional. That's exactly the word.
You've gotten rid of Santa Claus, and then you might as well go ahead and take it back. I mean, you don't believe in Thor. You don't believe in Zeus. Yeah, I mean, all these different things. I mean, seriously, how is it that this makes sense?
I have no idea. As a recovering Christian, the only thing I can think of is it's brainwashed from an early point in your childhood when you're told to listen to your parents. As a kid, you'll believe anything. I mean, any one of us who has a story similar to mine or us or whatever, or your own unique story that's not like ours, you can clearly understand that if you're a child, you will listen to an adult and everything that they say, and also you have a glorious lack of information. You're not stupid, just a glorious lack of information. You don't know what a snail is, and you certainly don't know what calculus is, or anything like that, or how a hard drive works. You don't know any of that. Most people don't anyway. But what you will believe is what your parents believe, and you say, the earth formed, or the universe formed because God did something, it happened, that's it. And as a child who has nothing to contradict that and no way to contradict that, it's going to be like, oh, well, okay, that's the way it is. And some adults, I think that religion over the millennia has been used to fill in gaps. Like, well, the earth goes, or the sun goes this way across the sky every single day. It gets low, it gets high. Clearly, the sun revolves around us. I almost got that backwards. How stupid would I be if I did? Anyway, clearly a mistake. But no, they thought of that. They didn't have anything to contradict that. So humans naturally try to make sense of their world. It's perfectly natural.
Yeah.
And for those that are of a certain background, I guess, they will fill in the gaps on their own because they have a supercomputer between their ears. And they have the ability that I don't know why that thing is so bright and so hot and it moves up and down over the air. It has to be some kind of fantastical god. It has to be. Well, over the centuries, we've proved that's not even close. And I think that with the information age, that is approaching exponentially, where eventually we will, through reason, logic, and evidence, not proof, but evidence, that there is no creator. There never was a creator. Creator.
Most likely.
Most likely.
Yeah. I think hopefully it gets to that point where that evidence is so strong that people, I mean, obviously atheism is on the rise. And it can be because here we are in the States, in Indiana, and we've figured it out.
Yeah.
I figured it out on my own. I think what really intrigued me, though, about this gentleman was the fact that he brought up our next story point, which is he's talking about the debate, the great debate that is about to happen. I don't know if they're going to actually call it that. But he makes mention of evolution and the idea of kissing a frog and turning it into a prince or something.
Yeah.
And that pisses me off.
Well, he said
To no end, because you're taking something that is not simple and you're making it that way. If that's a good way to put it. You're making something that's happened over millions of years, and I think Dawkins made the point that there was never a first human, if you will, because it happens gradually.
Yeah.
The change happens gradually.
And the time scales are so fantastical, you can't see it at all. The only way that we can see evolution in all its beauty and natural forces, the only way we can do it is through bacteria and over an extremely long time, there's a professor in the University of Michigan named Lenski. And this is, I'm pulling this right out of one of Dawkins' books. I think it's Greatest Show on Earth.
Okay.
He is demonstrating, and this experiment, he basically put evolution to the chance. And he's introduced certain key environments to kind of basically force or simulate the natural world, and you know, glycogen overload, glycogen depletion, that kind of thing, ascorbic acid or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And over a 20-year period, the samples that he had when he started have clearly evolved over the 20 years. Clearly evolved through evolution. It's the only way we can touch it, is bacteria reproduces so fast. I think it's like maybe half a dozen of generations a day or something. I don't know, something like that. It's in his book.
We don't have the facts behind us. We're going to need somebody to make sure. Keith will probably figure this out for us.
Yep. He will. Keith, get out your book and turn to one of those little tabs that you have marked.
He said, "You assholes."
Why did I do that?
Why did I get sick? But yeah, okay.
And I'm sorry, I'm clearly overpowering this whole.
No, I'm just listening. I think, in the essence of time, you know, we've gone. We don't have. I mean, if we go to an hour and a half, we get like another 15 or so minutes. Basically, this is getting into the. He was talking about the Bill Nye, Ken Ham debate at the Creation Museum that's going to happen in Kentucky in about a month, I think.
February 2nd, I think.
And a lot of people are kind of upset with Mr. Nye.
Myself included.
I'm kind of, it's the concept of putting people on the same level and saying that your thought is legitimate.
And giving them a platform to spew their nonsense.
Right. I think any time that you can get science in front of people, I think it's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But regardless, there's a debate that's about to happen, and the debate, I think, is basically spawned off of this particular clip from Bill Nye from The Big Think. I don't know that we've actually played this on our show or not, but it's titled "Creationism is Not Appropriate for Children."
Denial of evolution is unique to the United States. I mean, we are the world's most advanced technological, so I mean, you could say Japan, but generally the United States is where most of the innovation still happens. People still move to the United States. And that's largely because of the intellectual capital we have, the general understanding of science. When you have a portion of the population that doesn't believe in that, it holds everybody back, really. Evolution is the fundamental idea in all of life science, in all of biology. It's very much analogous to trying to do geology without believing in tectonic plates. You're just not going to get the right answer. Your whole world is just going to be a mystery instead of an exciting place. As my old professor Carl Sagan said, when you're in love, you want to tell the world. So once in a while, I get people that claim they don't believe in evolution. And my response generally is, why not? Really, why not? Your world just becomes fantastically complicated when you don't believe in evolution. I mean, here are these ancient dinosaur bones or fossils. Here is radioactivity. Here are distant stars that are just like our star, but that are at a different point in their life cycle. The idea of deep time, of billions of years, explains so much of the world around us. If you try to ignore that, your worldview just becomes crazy. It's just untenable, self-inconsistent. And I say to the grown-ups, if you want to deny evolution and live in your world that's completely inconsistent with everything we observe in the universe, that's fine. But don't make your kids do it, because we need them. We need scientifically literate voters and taxpayers for the future. We need people that we need engineers that can build stuff, solve problems. it's just really a hard thing. It's really a hard thing. You know, in another couple centuries, though, that worldview, I'm sure, it just won't exist. I mean, there's no evidence for it. So.
Hear, hear.
Yes. I want to hear what Mr. Ham has to say that. Now, I've seen both the videos. I've seen them, but I'm sure a lot of people have too.
The Creation Museum, Ken Ham, they did come up with their response to Bill Nye. And the amazing thing, I'm looking at the YouTube page, this is on for Big Think, 6,072,315 views.
Wow.
It has 105,518 likes, and it actually has nearing 20,000 dislikes.
Wait.
Right here. See that?
That 20,000 scares me.
It is a little frightening. So this little section from Big Think on Bill Nye has sparked an outrage amongst the creationists. So much so that Ken Ham, whose Creation Museum is going under, I think has somehow figured a way to possibly keep it afloat by getting a bunch of money in there because he's going to have a debate with Bill Nye and make himself seem credible. So he had his own response.
It's classic. It's not even logical. He's just putting words together.
This clip is 4 minutes and 44 seconds. I don't think we're going to get all the way through it because it'll probably start to get annoying.
Did you just want to maybe save something for another podcast entirely? Because, I mean, this isn't going to happen for another, 3 weeks.
Oh, well, I know. I don't know. No, I think I have to play it now.
Yeah.
I brought it up already.
I just realized that. I'm not that bright.
So here is Ken Ham of the Creation Museum. Here's his response to Mr. Bill Nye, the science guy, who he lovingly refers to as the humanist guy, who's all of a sudden, this name has become derogatory, which just pisses me off.
It's
Anyway,
shameful.
Jesus was a humanist. That's all I got to say.
Yep.
And it opens up and...
Hi, this is Ken Ham, President and
Hey, Ken
CEO
Ham.
of Answers in Genesis and the Creation Museum. Recently, a YouTube video featuring a person called Bill Nye, the science guy, received millions of views. Now, the video was called Creationism is Inappropriate for Children. Well, I really believe we should call Bill Nye the science guy, Bill Nye the humanist guy. You see, Bill Nye received the Humanist of the Year award in 2010. So even though Bill Nye had some wonderful programs on PBS TV teaching exciting things about science, when he was experimenting and putting things together and so on, and, he did some real observational science there, Bill Nye also has an agenda to teach children not to believe in God, to teach them their result of evolutionary processes, that they came from slime over millions of years. In fact, Bill Nye really doesn't understand science. I mean, the word science means knowledge. And you can divide science into historical science, that's talking about the past, or observational science, that's the science that builds our technology. He says if you deny evolution to children, they're going to have problems because we need engineers. Well, wait a minute. Engineering and evolution? What has evolution got to do with engineering? I mean, Bill Nye himself actually is not a scientist. He studied mechanical engineering, and he worked for Boeing at one stage. I hope he did not apply his evolutionary principles to any of Boeing's airplanes, because if he did, I wouldn't want to be flying in them. I don't want to fly in something that was built by chance random processes. What do you think, all the parts, just lay them out there on the runway and they come together or something? No, of course he didn't apply his evolutionary ideas to his engineering at Boeing, otherwise we'd be in real trouble. Bill Nye is really implying that if we're going to teach children creation, that it's really a form of abuse, that creationism is inappropriate for children. I tell you what is real abuse, and I tell you what is inappropriate for children. When you take generations of kids and you teach them they're just animals, there's no God, you're a result of millions of years of evolutionary processes. You just came from some slime over millions of years. Who determines right and wrong? You do. Who determines what's good and bad? You do. What is marriage? Whatever you want to make it to be. It's really people like Bill Nye that are damaging kids. creationists are teaching children that they're special, that they're made in the image
he's
of
just
God.
rambling on.
And of course, giving them a
okay.
basis
I
for
can't take
developing
it
technology.
anymore.
He's just what he's doing. I'm not an expert debater, like our radio friend is. What he's doing, and I've kind of identified this, is that when you're challenged like Mr. Ham is, and all you've got is attack of the person who has those views, you are hollow. You've got nothing. If he really did have something, and it could be anything. I mean, he could be like doing scripture. He could read from scripture. I mean, it'd be like, okay, you do have some evidence or something that you think is evidence on your side. And he's just going on and on. If you want to watch the whole video, it's a lot of the same thing.
It's pretty easy to find. Ken Ham responds to Bill Nye, the Humanist guy. And I just want to point out that the YouTube page has, for this video, 281,237 views. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, that's not near as much as the Nye video. But something that's extremely telling about this. I cannot like or dislike this video. It has been disabled. Oh. Something else that's extremely telling? Comments have been disabled for this video.
There's more. You don't see it, but there's more. I had a brief stint on commenting on the Creation Museum's Facebook page, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this, vitriol. It was very civilized. It was not challenging in any way. I think they were talking about like the goo to you thing, and I basically made the comment like, we did not come from goo. We came from a common ancestor of apes. We're cousins, distant cousins. And guess what happened?
They kick you off?
They deleted the comment and they kicked me off. I went back like 2 weeks later just to see if I could try it again, and I got through. I was actually able to make comment, and I made another comment where one of the previous supporters of the Creation Museum's website said something like, I don't know, something scientific related. Like, I wouldn't go after someone like, praise God. I mean, I'm not going to like attack that or anything. But like making some claim that, whatever, some scientific claim that I knew something about. I just asked him a question. It's like, well, how, like, for example, morality or you know, that kind of thing. It's like, well, where do you think it came from? And guess what? Happened again. The administrators of his website, they clean it. They have a team of cleaners that go through and they sift through all the people like me, and they go through it and they purify it. And I guarantee you...
Spray it with holy water.
And no, you go to YouTube and you look up videos of like atheists and very civilized, very inquisitive, and they go to the museum. I actually thought about it.
I want to go.
Keith
and I have been talking about going for a while.
Dude, I put up a Facebook announcement saying, hey, who wants to go? And I got no...
We actually created a Facebook event between myself, Keith, our buddy Mike, the anthropologist, and we've talked to Greg about it. And we've been trying to get it together to go, but we could never find a weekend where everybody could just go. And seriously, I want to go.
I do.
And just go experience it. I want to ask them questions and just see what happens. And you know, I don't want to be rude. I just want to be a human. Go in there and say, well, what about this? You know, and just ask the serious questions and just see what happens. Because when you've got things like this where they're not letting people comment on things, I mean, seriously, the Big Think, I should say, the Bill Nye video, it lets you know almost 20,000 people have disliked that. They've got their comment section open, so anybody can talk. It's an open debate. Why is it that in places like this disable things so that people can't have conversation? That is nowhere to get in life. No way to get ahead in life. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. There's actually another clip on here with their own creation scientists that we had thought about playing, but I think in essence of time or lack thereof, because we've already gone on and on and on and on.
That's my fault.
I'm not gonna.
I ate up the first 40 minutes.
I don't think it's
I take
necessary.
responsibility.
I think maybe we'll talk about it in the next week or so when Keith is feeling a little bit better, because I'm sure he wants to say something. And man, I don't like the fact. I do really dislike the idea that this is going to happen, but at the same time, I am so intrigued to watch it happen if I get a chance, if it's even going to be broadcast anywhere. I am so intrigued to hear and watch the actual debate and just to see Nye, I hope, destroy him. I don't know what the guy's biblical knowledge is. It would be nice, in my opinion, to have somebody more like Hitchens going at it, who's loaded full of the biblical knowledge. But at the same time, Nye has a way of connecting with people. I mean, teaching science to all those kids all those years. He's got his own fan base. I'm one of them.
I grew up with him.
Yeah, the guy's brilliant. It's I hope that things. I just I hope that this isn't a ploy to figure out a way to keep the Creation Museum open.
Right.
Because I feel like all that's going to happen is they're going to generate a bunch of money and it's going to stay open for a while. Because I keep hearing these rumors of them being financially unstable.
I don't know, but I know what I for one thing, I'm not giving a nice thumbs up to Nye for even participating in it, but it's happening, so I'll move on. What I hope is that Nye will present evidence, he will present arguments, and he won't attack, he won't do anything. He'll just like a professor or a teacher.
A nice solid argument.
This is what it is. He may not even he may not even look at Ham. It wouldn't surprise me. He's like, well, whatever, you're there. But Ham will spend most of his time attacking either Nye himself, atheist, evolutionist, Darwinist, whatever you want to call it. He will spend most of his time just attacking the people who hold those views, and a little bit of scripture and like logic bombs, like, well, if this happens, then why do we see this and this and this? And I know I get it. It's from a defensive point of view. And it's not a great place to be, but I really hope. Honestly, I don't really give a shit what Ham says. I'm just going to focus on Nye. It's like, Nye, you're going to convince people who are on the fence. That's who your target is.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, just the idea that he's there to put science in front of people's faces who probably won't get it because their pastors tell them that the Word of God is the only thing you need. I mean, it's those people that I hope somehow something gets through.
Yeah.
And I praise those people who are believers who still go with science and aspects, and I mean they don't hide from it. Because honestly, I hope and I think that there are more Christians and whatnot, Muslim, who are out there who do understand science and go with it.
Yeah. I think we generally...
At least I hope.
We kind of pick on Christians. It's really anyone who believes in a higher power and faith, something without evidence, that kind of thing. Now, if there is evidence, present it. Make it well known. But I will say this, you're not doing so good. You had the racket. You had it. You had it up until about like 1960, 1970. You were on it. But since then, you're losing. You're losing fast.
Yeah. I think we're at the end of the show.
Yeah.
I have to make sure I put up. We'll make sure to have any links and whatnot in the liner notes, the show notes, so that you can see the things that we were talking about. I hope Keith is feeling better.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm gonna hold off on the Keith thing for a second. First, if you want to email us and talk to us about anything, just remember it's beinghumanist.podcast@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, and the page is starting to grow a little bit, which makes me happy. If you look closely, you'll notice that there's an initial next to posts, which is either K or M, and that's between myself or Keith. Feel free to get us on there. It's facebook.com/beinghumanist.podcast is the fast way to get there. It's a green square with Being Humanist, just like the logo that's attached to the show on here on iTunes, if you're listening to us through iTunes. We're also on YouTube. We try to upload our audio to YouTube with a single picture, because that's about the only way you can do it. But we just want to have an audience, if possible, there. I have to, again, Keith, I hope you don't think we screwed it up too bad.
I don't know. I think I did. 40 minutes. 40 minutes.
It's okay. It's okay.
Just on me. Next time I'll just.
We'll see if any listeners write in and say, "Never have Adam on the show again."
The voice of our audience says, "Piss off." Never bring that douchebag back.
So again, we want to thank Adam for participating on the show today. We really wished that we had all three of us here, because I know Keith and I were really looking forward to the idea of having that third dimension there to see how we would play off of each other. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess that's that. I don't know if I got anything else to say.
Leave reviews.
Yeah, please leave reviews. We got a few reviews on iTunes. That's cool.
Send us money.
Send us money.
We'll send you money. I'm just a guest.
I don't have a way to get money yet. I got to set that up. We're going to have to set up a PayPal account or something. There's all these other people that are doing it. I would really love the chance to eventually go to a free thinker conference or atheist conference sometime.
Cool.
It'd be really cool to go there. Although
not more in the city we're in.
Keith would know everything, though. I'd just be sitting there. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Maybe sometime set up a field trip to the Creation Museum.
Yeah. I would love to do that, and I'd love to capture it.
We'd get kicked out.
Probably.
Their staff knows how to find us and get rid of us.
They know people.
They know.
And
they know people who are not delusional.
So the NFL season is almost over. This was like, what the heck? Tangent. The NFL season is almost over. We've got the AFC and NFC playoff games next week. And then there's a week in between with nothing but all kinds of fun stuff. I think the Pro Bowl might happen. I'm not sure. Maybe that happens after the Super Bowl. And then the Super Bowl itself. We in an effort, again, to leave on a positive note, here in Indiana, I don't know that we ran across this, but from what I understand, there was an atheist Super Bowl commercial that was played last year during the Super Bowl. Adam, you said you didn't see it either.
I missed it
completely until the day when I showed it to you.
Yeah.
But this is the cool thing to me. The fact of the matter is, things like this are happening, and it's super positive.
On the Super Bowl, too.
On the Super Bowl. And here's the fun YouTube stats for this. I don't know who the user is in particular, but 785,584 views. Nearly 20,000 likes and 2,000 dislikes.
Clearly, we're not alone.
This is the fantastic part. So I just want to end on a positive note. Thank you, Adam, for being on the show.
Hope to be back soon.
We missed you, Keith. Again, beinghumanist.podcast@gmail.com. Please say hi to us. And keep thinking.
Think hard, think long.
Enjoy the Super Bowl commercial that my freaking computer is freaking out on me for. Here we go. Good night, or goodbye, or whatever. Whenever you're listening to us. Enjoy your day.
To the curious, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, to the ones who just want to know about life, about the universe, about yourself. Not cute questions, big questions, ones that matter. To the rebels, the artists, the free thinkers, and the innovators, who care less about labels and more about truth, who believe nonconformity is more than a bumper sticker, that knowledge is more than words on a page. You're young, you're old, you're powerful beyond measure, and the fuel of that power is not magic or mysticism, but knowledge. The things you see, the things you feel, the things you know to be true. Sure, some will doubt you. Let them. Dare to think for yourself, to look for yourself, to make up your own mind. Because in the eternal debate for answers, the one thing that's true is the power of logic.